y'all. How y'all doing today? Hope everybody had a great weekend, and I'm happy to be back up in the kitchen talking to you guys today. You know, it's the beginning of our week, so we're just gonna just have a discussion about some things that went down last week, okay? Last week, the verdict came down for Derek Chauvin of the George Floyd trial. You know, they finally, the jury went out to debate, and they was only out, I think, for a few hours. It was a very quick decision, and the jury came back, the verdict was read, and he did get found guilty on all three charges, which, even though that should not have been a surprise to us, I'm sure a lot of us were still sitting on pins and needles because, the way the justice system works sometimes, it just does not play out in the favor of the victim, especially when it's a Black victim. So, the jury came back. He was found guilty on all three counts. And, the judge set out the stipulations of how long it would be before they actually do the sentencing and when he would come back for the sentencing. And at that time, the prosecutor did recommend that he be arrested. I mean, he be handcuffed and be, detained at that moment. So they did handcuff him, and they did, take him to jail, on to jail from that point. But the prosecutor also, stipulated that he was not to be eligible for bond, and his bond be revoked until, he gets sentenced. And that's just the right thing to do. I mean, we've known and seen in the past how when someone murders someone, a lot of times they're not even able to bond out anyway. So I don't even know why he was out all this time awaiting his trial. I mean, I still kind of look at it that there's two sets of rules to us, to people when it comes to justice and stuff, because a normal person, a regular person, I guess I should say, that committed a murder, and all the evidence that was presented, and with us seeing it on national TV over and over again, that person would have been in jail if it had not have been a cop. They would have not even been able to bond out or be out for this whole year waiting for this trial to approach. But he's in jail now, so, at least we did get that, and we did get a guilty verdict. Now, I hope when it comes time to sentencing him, I hope he get the max. I hope he get the max for each one of those counts, I think there's a max on one of the counts for 40 years. One of the counts got a 25-year max, and one of them has a 10-year max. I hope he get at least the 40 years, but combined with all three of them. I hope he get at least 40, if not the max on all of them. And everything that defendant attorneys and them tried to do to devalue George Floyd's name and trying to really make the jury think or see that George caused his own death. I mean, they tried everything. They pulled out everything they could to make it look like George killed himself, and he was the reason for his death. They talked about his drug use. They talked about his diabetes. They talked about him having heart problems. They talked about all that and everything, his whole life. They brought up this man's whole life and did nothing but try to tarnish his whole life and, devalue him. And in the bottom line, all to try to make it look like he caused his own death. They didn't even try to put that accountability on Derek Chauvin that he, but the prosecutor was ready. They had all their evidence together. They had everything. And then the volume, that video spoke volume, and the witness that they had to come forward and testify, they told what they saw, and that could not take away the jury. They could not deny this evidence. It was there. And, regardless, and I understand that was their job to try to defend him and get him off and make it look like George caused his own death and all this, which it wasn't even death, it was murder. This man murdered George, and then, like I said, a lot of the professional doctors that came and spoke, and you know, they were saying even after George, you could see he had taken his last breath, Derek Chauvin continued at that point to keep his knee on George's neck for an additional 3 minutes or so, because he had his knee on his neck for over 9 minutes. And after you could see, we watching the video and see him take his last breath, that he still kept his knee on George's neck. So he definitely, you know, got what he wanted. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of so many cases and incidents and murders that's taking place, you know, to come. You know, we still got to continue to, you know, speak up, you know, and have a peaceful, you know, protest. And every, you know, it was very peaceful when they was there. Of course, there was a large crowd of people waiting for this outcome because nobody knew, you know, we didn't know what to expect. I was right there in the TV like, okay, God, please, Jesus, just let this jury, just let them look at the evidence, you know, don't let them look at the evidence on it and see what they see, you know, and that's what they did. They, you know, and I know this was a lot of pressure on that jury. I know they got to live with this, and I don't know, there may be people trying to approach them afterwards and all this kind of stuff, but they had a lot of pressure on them. But, you know, they did their job. They did what they was brought there to do. And the defendant, attorney general and all of them, they did their job. They gathered all the evidence. They gathered the witness. They brought everything to the table. And the only thing that the prosecutors could the defendant prosecutor tried to use, the only thing they could use was basically trying to, you know, just devalue George and really trying to grill in those jurors' head that this man had a lot of health issues. This man had drug problems. This man caused his own death. No, it wasn't just, it was just not gonna fly this time. They was not gonna be able to get this man out for what was clearly murder. And, you know, whatever happens to him, whatever charges he get, you know, he's got to answer for that. Even after he served his time and he go to jail, he still got to answer for that. You know, you took a human being life, you know. And I think one of the Jerry Blackwell was saying it wasn't George Floyd. God, why do I always say that? It wasn't George Floyd's heart that killed him. It was Derek Chauvin's lack of a heart that killed him. You know, George Floyd had a heart. Derek Chauvin did not have a heart. That day, he did not let his heart come into play of just having the feeling of this is a human being. And I have retained him or restrained him enough. I need to get up. I need to get up off his neck. So he did not have a heart, Derek Chauvin. And I've said that many times before. It's not, you know, all policemen are not bad policemen, but they're the ones that's out there, the rotten apples that's in the bunch. You got to pick them out one by one. You got to pick those rotten apples out, because the ones that's doing these type of things and taking people's life with no regards or anything of them just being a human being, those are the ones that makes the whole police force look like it's bad. And you know, there are good cops out there that does the right thing. Now, those cops that was there with him that day, they didn't do what they should have did, because they should have stopped him. Even if they had to take physical force and remove Derek Chauvin off of George's neck, they should have did that. They should have, if they had to forcefully grab him by his arms and pull him off of George's neck, you know, that would have made a world of a difference. George could possibly still be here today. So those cops, and their trial is coming up, and I think they're going to try all them together, those three together and everything. So they definitely did not do what they was trained to do either. They stood there and allowed him to do that, you know, but we'll have to see how that outcome is and you know, how that turns out when they get their trial. You know, they may not get as much time or anything that Derek Chauvin should get, but they should be held accountable too, because they definitely participated in it. They did nothing to prevent it. So, but you know, kudos to that whole assistant attorney team and all them, and they worked together as a team. They brought it together. They put it out there, and you know, so kudos to them. You know, they held him accountable. They gave the information to the jury so that they can make the right decisions and stuff. You know, despite, you know, everything that we got to see on the videos, and I didn't watch the whole trial because I did not want to keep replaying that video and hearing how he was murdered, but I caught the, you know, the high points and the things, and I made sure the day of the verdict that I sit there and I watched that, and I wanted to see the reaction of the people. I wanted to see how they was gonna, you know, how it was gonna affect them, how they was gonna take this, because you got to understand, you know, this family has relived that over and over and over for the last year, and on top of, you know, the trial of George Floyd and all that we've gone through for the last weeks and stuff. Right at the ending of this trial, Tintiy Wright lost his life. You know, right at the end, and just blocks away from where all this was going on. So now that family is having to replay this and get ready, you know, to go through the same process that George Floyd family just went through, you know. And it's just so much going on. I mean, it's just continually hearing about these shootings. I mean, people shooting up jobs, and people just, I mean, it's just crazy. You know, I just don't get it. You know, I pray about it and hoping that this here will be a beginning to a change of the way police handle incidents or handle situations they're in. And yes, they definitely need to rethink their training process and maybe send some of these policemen back through training. You know, like I said, all cops are not bad cops. I have policemen that's in my family. You know, I have them that has to go out and deal with these calls and these situations every day. And even when they're having to go out and deal with it, you know, they're approaching it, and they don't know what's going to happen, how they're going to come, you know, if they're going to return to our family, they're going to come back home, you know. But it's a dangerous job to have. But if that's what you choose to do in your career, then you need to follow all the right procedures and do the right thing. Everyone that's out there doing something, if you come and, you know, you have to handle that situation, you need to be able to handle it, because each situation you have to handle it differently. And some of these situations, they take it to the scream. And then the thing about it, the sad thing about it, they know they're being recorded. They know they either got their body cameras on, or somewhere out in the audience, and everybody that's watching these incidents are recording them. And it's like they don't even care that they're being recorded, even by their own body cameras. You know, it's like they just know, well, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and nobody's going to do anything to me. Nothing is going to happen to me. Because in the past, that's the way it's been. They've always been able to do whatever they want to do, and it gets pushed under the rug or covered up, and half of the time, they don't even go to trial on it, you know. So I'm glad and I'm blessed that this verdict came out the way that it did. And maybe, you know, George family can start to, you know, process this and deal with it in a little better way, where they won't be having to repeat this over and over and over, you know. So my prayers continually go out to him, to his family, and you know, everybody. And guys, we just got to continue to pray about these situations and stuff. Okay. All right, well, I'm about to get up out of here and let you guys go about your day and do what you do. But don't forget to go back and get Granna some love. Give me some, share my video with your family and friends. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you have not subscribed to Kitchen Talk with Granna. And hey, if it's something you want to discuss, you know, send me a comment. Let me know about it. And, you know, I'm always open for opinions, and I'm always open for your comments. But you guys got to remember, these are Granna's opinion. And most of the time when I'm talking about topics like this, I've watched the CNN news and every news that I can see and try to gather all my facts. I'm just taking it from that platform to my platform and just putting out there my opinion about it, okay? All right, guys, have a good one. I'm going to check you out next time around.